Am I the idiot for not finding the strength to forgive my husband who cheated with her? Hi, everyone. I've been on Reddit for a while now, trying to find the courage to ask for advice. But I didn't know how I could come here and talk about my private life with strangers, since not even my family and friends know about this. But I seriously need some outside opinions, because I'm very hurt and confused about all this. Sorry in advance if I misspell or get the wrong words. But English is not my first language. I am Italian. This is the situation. I, 31 years old, have been with my husband, 42 years old, for more than 10 years now, 5 of which married. We had a baby recently. She's just 2 months old, and we both love her with all our hearts. I had a pretty rough pregnancy, most of which I had to spend with my family because I needed assistance even to use the bathroom, and he couldn't provide it. Since he works all day till 6:30 p.m., the delivery was even tougher, and the doctors had to give me a lot of stitches, which really made the postpartum period a lot harder for me. But I managed with the help of my parents and sister. He's been really supportive too. The thing is, it's been almost a year since the last time we were intimate, because my doctor suggested that I take it easy since the recovery would be slow, and he was right. He's been joking about it, saying he had to use his hand and things like this. Before pregnancy, we had a very active intimacy life. I've always had a really strong intimacy drive, and he really appreciated it, but now I feel like what happened is my fault. Last week, I went out with my daughter and a friend of mine. It wasn't planned. She surprised me, and I gladly accepted. I wanted a change of scenery, and it's been a while since the last time I went out. We were drinking coffee in a nice bar where we always go when I see her. She hasn't been around for a long time, and I was surprised to see her, but she was there. To make a long story short, she's about my age, and they had a sort of relationship before I was in the picture. Not a proper relationship, but they slept together for about 6 months before he found out she was sleeping with his best friend as well. But they kept being friends, not as close as before. Then she went to live abroad and periodically came back to visit her family. A few years ago, when we were just dating, she came with my brother-in-law to my husband's family's vacation home and didn't even bother to greet me, just smirked smugly at me. So my husband ignored her and came with me. My brother-in-law then told me he had told her that my husband was serious about me and to not stir up any trouble. And she said she wasn't there for my husband, but for him, and proceeded to sleep with him. Then we would casually see her when she came to visit her family. Once she didn't see me next to my husband and tried to greet him, just to run away when she noticed me, TF. Then my brother-in-law died because of a car accident, and we still mourn him. He was my best friend, and I loved him dearly. Imagine what my husband had to go through. And she sent my husband a text where she told him how much she cared about him and his parents, and she was sorry and wanted to talk to him. My husband didn't reply, asked me to delete the message after we argued a little about her lack of boundaries, but I felt guilty to bring it up at a moment like that. Anyway, she then disappeared, and I found out she was fighting against cancer from mutual friends, and I honestly felt bad for her. When I saw her last week, a feeling of uneasiness took over me. I don't know why. I felt like something was wrong, but I thought I was being paranoid. Then my husband's best friend, the one she slept with years ago, told me to check my husband's phone and that he was sorry, but he thought I deserved to know. Well, I did, and found nothing. So I asked him to tell me what was wrong. Long story short, on New Year's Eve, while I was at home with our daughter and our families, and he went out to see a couple of friends, he met her casually and told our friend he made a mistake, and they had a quickie in her car before he came back home. Our friend showed me the texts, and my heart broke. I waited a few days to talk to him. He cried and told me he made a mistake, but he never saw her after that evening, and he wanted to tell me, but he was scared and said all the things cheaters say when they get caught. I know I neglected him, but it wasn't my fault. He asked for forgiveness and told me he would do anything, but I can't find the strength to forgive him. Then I think about my innocent daughter and wonder if I should make an effort. Nobody knows, not my family, nor his, not our friends, except for the one who told me about all this, and he thinks I should leave him, that he has no excuse for what he did. He himself has a toddler now, so he knows what he's talking about. I care deeply for my husband. I don't want to tell anyone what happened because I don't want our family and friends to hate him or look at him differently, but I can't stay with him. It's something I can't find the strength to do. He knew what I think about cheating. He knew I was insecure about her. Talfanur. He knew this would unalive me. I feel disgusted. He came home that night as if nothing had happened. How could he do this to us? To my daughter in the first place? I still love and care for him, but I can't go on. I'm moving back to my parents' house tonight, telling them I need some help with the baby. I want nothing from him, not the house. It would remind me of him, not his money, nothing. I will never stop him from being the wonderful dad I know he will be. I'll do my best to have a good relationship with him as co-parents. But that's all I can do. I would never trust him again, and I feel like any romantic feelings I felt for him died the moment I found out the truth. He says I'm not trying to fix things up, but why should I fix something I didn't break? He isn't taking this well, but he's not making it too hard on me either, saying he understands how betrayed I may feel, but to at least think it through before ending things definitively. Am I the wrong one? I feel this strong urge to confront her, but I rationally know it's not her fault that he couldn't keep it in his pants. What should I do? Update. Thank you so much for all the comments. I couldn't reply to all of them, but I appreciated all the support I got. Yesterday evening, before my father came for me and my daughter, my future ex-husband asked me to stay, to not leave so soon, to give him a chance to explain everything. Useless to say, I couldn't do that. I need time to think, to process all that has happened and understand how I want to proceed from this. He cried a lot and we hugged. I thought I would be heartbroken, but I mainly felt numb. I think I couldn't believe him even if he tried to be completely honest. He said it was just a drunken mistake, that he felt disgusted as soon as he came, that alcohol and abstinence made his head empty, and she was just a finish bucket for him. He realized what he had done just after the deed was done. I told him it was a little late, that it is easy now to say it meant nothing and it was a mistake. It meant nothing, yet he fricked her. He knew she had one thing in mind, and he should have left that damn pub when she appeared. Instead, he greeted her and they also drank together. He told me they weren't alone, but other friends were there drinking with them, so he thought it was okay. No, honey, it wasn't okay for you to drink with a woman you knew has always hated me, that has been trying to frick you during our entire relationship. And when she asked you to go out and smoke with her, you should have said no. And when she asked you to get in the car with her, you should have laughed in her face and left her there standing like the intimacy worker she is. Instead, you went along with all that and ended up between her legs. I told him all this. He said I was right. Yeah, sure, it's useless now. He did it, and that's all that counts. When my dad came, we acted as if he hadn't just broken our marriage. He hugged me a little longer than necessary, taking advantage of the fact that my father didn't know, and kissed the baby a lot, with tears in his eyes. My father, being the ex-cop he is, asked me how we were doing and if everything was all right. I reassured him and tried my best not to burst out crying in front of him during the 20-minute trip to his house. When we got there, a look from my mother and she realized I wasn't okay, but they didn't ask, so I went into my old room and fell asleep with my baby smiling at me. I didn't cry, even though I thought I would. I just felt angry and disappointed. This morning, I woke up to my sister and brother-in-law waiting for me in the kitchen. They live 2 blocks away from my parents. We've always been a very close family, and my sister is also my best friend. So she told me she wanted to know what had happened because it was clear I was being weird, and I told her everything since everyone here suggested that I share this situation with the closest people to me. She was obviously livid and wanted to call him and raise hell, but ended up respecting my wish to wait a little longer. We hugged and cried, but I didn't shed a tear for him. I cried for my daughter, for our broken family, and my stupidity because I chose a man who threw our whole marriage away for a squalid quickie. I still care about him, but he messed me up pretty badly. My parents still don't know. My sister wanted me to fill them in, but I decided to wait. My husband's friend called, telling me he called him yesterday evening after I was gone, and he was a mess, but I couldn't bring myself to care. I'll take it slowly from here. My sister insists that I call a lawyer, but I still need time to process. I'll keep you updated. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. I truly understand how you feel. My ex-husband cheated on me with my friend. I left the minute I found out. He knew that if he ever cheated, it was over. He got to parent his 2 children, but I lost all respect for him. I will pray for you and your baby. If you need to leave, just leave. Good luck. It gets better. Comment 2, not the idiot. Even if no one finds out, you will always know the truth. It is completely understandable to not be able to forgive someone for cheating on you. You can still leave him and just say it's for other reasons. But why protect him? He wasn't protecting you, your child, or your marriage. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a month since my last post and a lot has happened. I'm back with an update that I never thought I'd be writing. After I moved back to my parents' house with my daughter, things got really intense. My husband started calling me nonstop, begging for a chance to talk. He even showed up at my parents' house unannounced, which caused a huge scene. My dad, who's always been protective, almost lost it when he saw him. He didn't know the full story yet, but he could sense something was off. I finally broke down and told my parents everything. My mom was heartbroken, and my dad was furious. They both couldn't believe what he had done, especially since they've always treated him like a son. The betrayal hit them almost as hard as it hit me. Meanwhile, my husband's attempts to win me back got more desperate. He sent flowers, wrote letters, and even tried to involve our friends to talk to me on his behalf. But I couldn't shake the image of him with her, and every gesture just reminded me of the pain. Then, 2 weeks ago, I ran into her. I was at the grocery store with my sister, and there she was in the same aisle. My heart raced, and I felt sick to my stomach. She had the nerve to smile at me like we were old friends catching up. I wanted to confront her, to scream at her for what she did, but my sister held me back, reminding me that causing a scene wouldn't help anyone. But the worst part? She had the audacity to tell me she was sorry for what happened and that it was a mistake. A mistake? That's what my husband said too. It felt like a slap in the face. I just walked away, but that encounter stayed with me for days. I couldn't eat or sleep properly. It was like reliving the betrayal all over again. My sister has been my rock through all of this. She's been helping me with the baby and making sure I'm not alone. She's also been pushing me to see a lawyer, but I've been dragging my feet. It's not just about ending a marriage, it's about dismantling a life we built together. Last week, my husband came by again, this time with a different approach. He brought a box full of memories, photos, mementos from trips we took, even the first movie ticket from our first date. He spread them out on the front porch and asked me to just sit with him and look through them. He said he wanted to remind me of the good times, of what we had before all this happened. I sat there, numb, flipping through pictures of us smiling, holding hands, kissing. It was like watching a movie of someone else's life. He kept saying he'd do anything to fix things, but how do you fix a shattered heart? Then he dropped a bombshell. He told me that she had reached out to him again, saying she was leaving town and wanted to see him one last time. He said he told her no, that he was fighting for his family. He showed me the texts as proof, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. I told him I needed more time, that I couldn't just forget everything and go back to how things were. He left, defeated, and I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. I still loved him, but that love was now tangled with resentment and distrust. My sister's been urging me to make a decision, to either start the divorce process or try to work things out. But it's not that simple. Every choice feels like the wrong one. I'm stuck in this limbo, trying to figure out what's best for my daughter and me. I've started seeing a therapist to help me sort through my feelings. It's been helpful to talk to someone neutral, someone who doesn't know us personally. She's been encouraging me to think about what I want for my future, not just what's best for everyone else. As for my husband, he's still trying. He's been going to therapy too, and he's been more involved with our daughter, even though we're not living together. He's trying to show me he can be the man I married, but I'm not sure if that's enough. My husband's mistress gets pregnant, so he wants to pretend we're solid to win custody. I'm on the fence, but then she overdoses and everything changes. My husband Alex, who is 32 years old, and I, who am 29 years old, have been separated for about 8 months now. We separated because I found out he has been having an affair for the last 2 years of our relationship. He only confessed because his affair partner, named Erica, was pregnant. She has since given birth. I asked him for a divorce immediately. We have to be separated and living apart for a year before we can actually get a divorce. So as of now, we're just separated. A week ago, he came over to talk without my permission, but I let him in because I was curious about what he had to say. He said that Erica was doing hard drugs while pregnant. He was doing drugs with her too, but claims he only did them once in a while and only recreationally. The baby was born with drugs in their system, and CPS was called. Erica was not allowed to take the baby, and neither was Alex because he failed a drug test. His lawyer said there is hope of him getting back his child if they prove he doesn't do drugs anymore and can provide a stable home for the child. He said he has a better chance of getting his child back if he proves to the court that he's married and the child is coming into a healthy and functional family with a stable partner, which is me. I told him he's an idiot if he thinks anyone will believe that we have a happy and healthy marriage when he had a baby with someone else while we were married. Plus, we had to file our date of separation, and there's evidence of that. He came up with this entire plan to lie about how I had a change of heart after seeing the situation. So I decided to try to make my marriage work with him and raise the child with him. He would have to move back into our home for this entire plan to work, but he said he has no intention of asking for help from me to raise the child, and that he will stay out of my way as much as he can. He said after he gets custody, he will not put up a fight to get the divorce. My reasoning for saying no: 1, I do not want to help him. 2, I have no way of knowing if he's actually not harassing drugs. There's no guarantee that the child would be safer and more taken care of with him. 3, I do not want to stay married to this man any longer. We're approaching the 1-year mark of our separation, so I can finally file for divorce, and I don't want to get in the way of that. 4, I don't want to be involved in their legal mess because I'm worried about how it might blow up in my face. I spoke to my sister about this, and she said, although she doesn't feel bad for him in general, he's always been a caring person and would definitely raise the child to the best of his ability, so I should try to help him for the sake of the child. She also said that he won't get his child back if he doesn't pass a drug test, so I don't have to be worried about him being incapable of raising the child if he does get them back. My mom agrees with my sister. Only my dad thinks it's a horrible idea and told me not to do it. I just can't decide if this would even be a good thing for the child. His plan makes no sense to me, but for some reason it makes sense to everyone else. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, 100%, not the idiot. I'm sorry, but I have zero tolerance for people like your ex and his new drug-addled girlfriend. The baby is now struggling at birth, which could lead to some bad after effects. I hope they never get that baby. I know going into the system is bad too, but it has to be better than dealing with drug addicts who will choose their high over their children. Comment 2, don't do it. If anything goes wrong, you could be in trouble as well. If he is drug-free and follows the rules, he may still get custody without your lie. This is his problem, not yours. If you let him move in, you may never get him out. You know you will end up providing childcare. Just say no and continue with the divorce. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a week since I last posted about my separated husband Alex, trying to rope me into his plan to get custody of his child with his affair partner, Erica. I've got an update for you all, and let me tell you, it's been a hectic ride. After I last posted, I was leaning towards not helping Alex, but then things took an unexpected turn. Alex showed up at my door again, this time with tears in his eyes. He had just come from a meeting with his lawyer, and he was desperate. He told me that he had been attending Narcotics Anonymous meetings every day since we separated and was clean now. He even showed me a bunch of negative drug test results to prove it. I was shocked. I never thought Alex would go to such lengths. But that wasn't the only surprise. Alex confessed that he had been secretly in love with me even while he was with Erica. He said the affair was a huge mistake and that he realized he wanted to be with me and only me. He begged me to consider his plan, not just for the sake of the child, but for us. I didn't know what to think. Part of me was furious that he thought he could just waltz back into my life, but another part of me remembered the good times we had before everything went wrong. I decided to talk to my sister again. She's always been the level-headed one in the family. She pointed out that Alex seemed to be making a real effort to change. She suggested that maybe, just maybe, people can change. I was still skeptical, but I agreed to think about it. The next day, I got a call from Erica. I hadn't spoken to her since the whole mess started. She was hysterical, saying that Alex had promised to leave me and be with her and the baby. She claimed that she had been clean for months and that Alex was the one who kept bringing drugs around. I didn't know who to believe. Erica was clearly still using, and her story didn't add up with the evidence Alex had shown me. I was torn. On one hand, I had my soon-to-be ex-husband claiming he was clean and still in love with me. On the other hand, I had his affair partner accusing him of lying and manipulation. I didn't want to get dragged back into their drama, but I also couldn't shake the feeling that maybe Alex was telling the truth. I decided to confront Alex about Erica's call. He was furious. He said Erica was trying to manipulate the situation and that he had proof she was still using. He showed me recent messages from her asking him for money, presumably for drugs. It was a mess. Despite everything, I agreed to help Alex with his custody battle. I don't know if it was the right decision, but seeing him clean and hearing him talk about his love for me swayed me. We started to spend more time together, and it felt like old times. I started to believe that maybe we could make this work. But then, just when I thought things were looking up, another news dropped. Erica overdosed. She was in the hospital, and it didn't look good. Alex was devastated. He blamed himself for not being able to save her from her addiction. I didn't know how to feel. Erica had caused so much pain, but she was still the mother of Alex's child. Now Alex is more determined than ever to get custody of his baby. He's thrown himself into proving he can provide a stable home, and I'm here helping him, even though I'm not sure where we stand. It's a bittersweet situation. On one hand, I'm glad to see Alex turning his life around. On the other hand, I'm still hurt by his betrayal, and I'm not sure if I can ever fully trust him again. My fiancé won't give my house keys back, so I left to clear my head, but then I found out he made copies without telling me. Trust is shattered now. I need an outside opinion here. My fiancé and I are in an argument about house keys. Specifically, he asked to borrow my keys. Then we had a disagreement. Then he refused to immediately give them back when I asked for them and insisted on asking why I needed my house keys, which led to me screaming at him to give me my keys back. Some context. I grew up with insecure housing. My parents used to lock me out of the house if I wasn't home before curfew, saying, "If you aren't home by 10, stay wherever you are at because you aren't sleeping here," when I was 14. That and other things eventually led Child Protective Services to take me into foster care where I had zero privacy and very strict rules supervision. I could be kicked out of my placement for literally any reason, so I never knew how long a place would be home before I'd have to pack up and move again. I've been in therapy for years about these issues, and I've gotten over it mostly. I am successful in my career now and pay my own rent, and I feel safe most of the time, but I still freak out when I can't go home if I haven't prepared ahead of time. My fiancé knows this. He also saw me have a panic attack 3 months ago when we were still living separately, when I couldn't go home because his parents came to visit, took my apartment, and then invited themselves to stay 4 days longer in my apartment without asking. So back to today. I'm already annoyed with my fiancé this morning because we have guests in town, and I think he is being insanely rude to them while we are in town. After they went off on their own, and we were walking back to our shared apartment, he asked me what was bothering me, and I told him. He immediately got defensive and agitated, so I stopped engaging. When I'm around agitated partners, I instinctively make sure I have a way to get home, because home equals safety. I realized that he still had my house keys from earlier in the morning. I calmly asked him if he had my keys. The dialogue was as follows. Me, do you still have my house keys? Him, yes. Can I have them back? Why? Me, because they're mine and I want them back. I don't need to give you an explanation for why I want my keys back. You are being really controlling right now. You need to give me my keys. Him, gives me my keys back. I can't believe you're saying I'm controlling. You're gaslighting me. This continued to escalate until he told me to shut the frick up. So I stopped talking entirely. As we got nearer to our house, he apologized for the argument, but I said nothing. When we got to the house, he asked why I was so upset about the keys. I asked him how many times I've told him the story about my parents locking me out of the house, and if he remembered me having a panic attack 2 months ago about not being able to go home. I told him that he knows I have a lot of trauma around being able to go home, and him purposefully not giving me my keys was triggering. So I needed some space, and I was going to go work in my office for a bit until our guests are back. He asked me to stay and talk it through, but then he immediately started asking if me and my last long-term ex, who I broke up with 7 years ago, fought very much. I said I don't see what that has to do with anything and I'm going to work, so see you later. Then I left. So, am I the jerk for trying to distance myself from him for a few hours? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your need for a sense of security, especially considering your background, is absolutely valid. It's concerning that your fiancé, who knows about your past traumas, would hesitate to return your keys and then escalate the situation by accusing you of gaslighting. It's a basic respect to return someone's belongings when asked, especially something as crucial as house keys. Your decision to take some time for yourself seems like a healthy boundary to set, especially in light of his behavior and the triggering situation. It might be beneficial for both of you to have a calm discussion about boundaries and respect once things have cooled down. Comment 2. This is abuse. You told him your deepest fears, insecurities, and trauma, and he is using that now against you to push your boundaries to see what he can get away with. It sounds like the first time he did this was when he invited his parents to stay at your apartment. The second time is the keys. He is ramping up, and his mask is starting to slip. You are seeing the real him. I am also adding editing to add. It is doubly suspicious that this is happening around outside people. This is boundary testing, and he is doing it in front of outside people to see how you will react and if you will keep the abuse secret. Now for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the key situation with my fiancé. It's been a chaotic week, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened. After I left to work in my office, I thought a few hours apart would help us cool down. But when I got back, things had only gotten worse. Our guests had heard about the argument and were awkwardly trying to stay out of it. My fiancé was still upset, and he tried to apologize again, but it felt off. He kept saying things like, "I just don't understand why you can't trust me," which only made me more frustrated because it felt like he was missing the point entirely. The next day, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with him. I reminded him of the time when we first moved in together, how he had promised to always make me feel safe and secure in our home. I brought up how important that was to me, given my past. He seemed to get it, and for a moment, I thought we were making progress. But then, 2 days later, I came home early from work to find him in a heated phone call. He didn't notice me at first, and I overheard him saying, "She's overreacting. It's just a set of keys." My heart sank. It felt like he was dismissing my feelings all over again, and this time to someone else. I confronted him about the call, and he tried to brush it off as venting to a friend. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. We had another argument, and this time, I was the one who ended up apologizing for eavesdropping. It was like our roles had reversed, and I didn't like how it made me feel. The next few days were tense. We were both walking on eggshells around each other, and our guests could definitely sense it. They decided to cut their visit short, which only added to the tension. My fiancé blamed me for making them feel unwelcome, and I couldn't help but feel guilty, even though I knew it wasn't all on me. Yesterday, things came to a head. I was doing laundry and found a receipt in my fiancé's pocket. It was for a duplicate key made a week ago, the same day we had the original argument. I was stunned. Why would he make a copy of my house key without telling me? I confronted him with the receipt, and at first he tried to deny it. But when I pressed him, he finally admitted that he had made a copy, just in case. We had another argument, and I tried to lock him out. I couldn't believe it. After everything we had been through, he still didn't trust me. And worse, he had gone behind my back to ensure he had control over my sense of security. I told him I needed some time to think and left the house. I spent the night at a friend's place, trying to process everything. It felt like the trust between us had been shattered. I kept thinking about how he had seen me at my most vulnerable, how he knew my history with unstable housing, and yet he still chose to undermine my sense of safety. Now, I'm back at our apartment, and we're supposed to talk things through tonight, but I'm not sure where to go from here. It's like the more I try to create a safe space for myself, the more it slips away. And the fact that he made a copy of my key without my consent feels like a huge betrayal. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.